Let's go to Michelle in Portland, Oregon. What's up, Michelle? How are you?
Hey, good morning, Dr. John. How are you?
I'm good. What's going on in your world?
Good. Well, not much. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Hey, I'm nervous too, and I promise you're better at this than me, so go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, not really sure how to say this, but I just found out recently that my husband has a felony conviction from before we were married.
Okay.
And he's also a registered sex offender.
Oh, okay. That kind of felony.
Yeah. So,
hey, can I ask you something?
So I just found out,
have you told anybody this?
My mom. She's the only one I've talked to other than you, I guess, now.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Do me a favor. I want you to breathe in real deep and hold it for a second. And then let it out. I can hear it sitting on you.
Yeah.
When did you find out about this?
Actually, it's been probably about almost 2 months now, but
okay.
Still kind of comes up on occasion.
Yeah, I can imagine so. That you're like, hey, pass the potatoes. What the I totally can see that. So, how did you find out?
Actually, a piece of his mail, I found that he has to register every year with the state. And so they sent him like a little notice saying you have to pay your fine every year to register. And I found it in the mail.
How long have you been married?
5 years.
Do y'all have kids?
We do. And that's kind of part of my question.
How many?
We have 2 kids together. We have 2-year-old twin daughters, and I have a 13-year-old son from a previous relationship.
So y'all are in this?
Yes.
5 years. Yes. And what is his explanation of what happened? Why he's on the registry?
Well, he was in college at the time. So this was about 15 years ago when it happened. And he was just at a party, and he spent the night with a young woman who happened to be under the age that he didn't know. Mm-hmm. It was one night, and he didn't find out till about a week later when the cops knocked on his door. Mm. That's what he said. I got all the paperwork from the courts and everything. He didn't spend any jail time. He just had some fines and 3 years of probation. And
why did he hide this from you?
Happened. Well, he says he didn't hide it. He just didn't tell me. He thought that when we first started dating, we kind of mentioned something about running background checks on each other. And he thought that I saw it on there and that it must not have bothered me. Is kind of what his explanation was.
So
he kind of just forgets about it.
I am way, if that story's true, if you went and looked at the court records and that looks right, mm-hmm. I am way more worried that he lied to you. That for 5 years he's hidden this from you. Because he must have had to go to the mail before you got there every year to go re-register. What's he do for a living?
He's like a welder, pipe fitter.
Okay. So what'd your mom tell you to do? She came over that day because when I first got the notice in the mail, I didn't really know what it was because it just pretty much said you're a sex offender. And no, you knew what it was. You didn't want to believe what it was.
Right. I didn't believe it, but I didn't know what type of a sex what it was for.
Gotcha.
Was it really for did he really go after a woman? Or was it like what he said happened where it was just a one night relationship and he didn't know that she was underage because he was at a college party?
But hold on. I don't want to minimize that. Yeah. Rape is rape, right? Right. And 15 years ago, yes, I get that. A long time ago, yes, I get all that stuff. But it's a college person's responsibility if they're going to be wheeling and dealing, right? Now, we have a whole other conversation, be a whole other podcast to talk about, is it right to be labeled 15 years later and all this and that. All that isn't pertinent right now. Mm-hmm. What's right now is this guy's a sex offender. You got married, you got kids by him. And he's somebody that I would have a hard time trusting right now. Mm-hmm. And what you're going to have to do is decide, A, am I going to reestablish trust with this person? How about this? You got to back out. What y'all had before now is completely over.
Right.
Okay. And if you don't start there, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Okay. So this idea that everything's perfect and this is what was is over. There's a period at the end of that sentence, and you're going to have a season of grieving that you got had. Okay. It doesn't mean this thing's over. That doesn't mean that you can't not be with him. But that does mean now fully wrapping your head around, I am married to a sex offender. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And here's the other thing. You're going to have to be really graceful with you because you're going to beat yourself up over this. Have you already done that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, don't do that. Okay. You got had. You got lied to. And you can say, I wasn't hiding it. You don't just leave this off. This is a conversation you have before. Good God Almighty. Yeah. I understand not having this conversation on date one. Fair. You got to have this conversation before you get married. You got to have this conversation before you have kids with somebody, period. And you can't say, oh, I thought you knew. Come on, man. Come on. Right? So what are you going to do?
I thought about that for a lot. I still love him. And
sure.
I mean, on some days it's starting to get to where, I don't think about it and I'll go a whole day without thinking about it. And then the next day I think about it.
Yeah.
And we're still doing great. The first, about month was pretty hard, but we're doing a lot better. We're looking at possibly going to speak to somebody.
So
I'd like to try and make it work.
Okay.
Of course.
Very cool. Why did were you married before?
No, I was not.
Okay. But you have a 13-year-old in the house?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 100% you'll have to go see somebody. Okay. And here again, I'm way more concerned at this point, 15 years later, that he lied to you. And that's going to continue. It's going to be a seed in your relationship. It's going to grow and fester if you don't deal with it right now. And so he's still not coming clean with you. He still hadn't looked you in the eye and said, hey, I lied to you. I hid this from you. I thought you were wonderful, and I thought you would leave if you found out. He needs to be that kind of honest with you.
Okay.
And until he does, you're going to try to make this all go away, and it's just not going to. And you're going to have a response for when a neighbor comes by or a future realtor comes by. Somebody's going to pull up that registry and go, what in the world? And this is going to have to be a part of y'all's life, not something y'all hide and try to, this is going to be a part of your life. Right? And at some point, you're going to have to sit down and tell your son, because your son's someone's going to look it up at school, and someone's going to say, what about your dad? You're going to have that conversation too. And hopefully, your husband's of the caliber now where he would take your son out before he goes to school and say, hey, here's something that happened to me. Here's something I'm going to pay for the rest of my life. Here's how you honor and treat people. Here's how you are a steward of people around you. Here's how you're a steward of your own body. You're going to have those conversations, right? You can redeem this thing, but it has to start with unadulterated, clear the deck honesty. And yet you don't have that yet, right? I hate that for you, Michelle. Ugh, it's heartbreaking. You're going to have to let yourself off the hook for this, okay? You are. Most of us get married. We know somebody. We love this somebody. We've been somebody 5 years. We don't think, oh, you know what I need to do? I need to go ahead and check we just don't do that, right? I hate that for you, Michelle. Listen, sit down and have the hard conversation. You start over. That's what's happening here. You're starting over, clear the deck, and go get a professional to help y'all walk through this, okay? There's going to be a season of grieving, a season of rebuilding if you choose to stay with him, and then a season of how do we do something completely different than we've done before? Because anything moving forward, it's got to be built on truth. All right. Thanks, Michelle.